and I guess we'll go ahead and talk about that first. So Tweeterhead's first release of the bust line that we've been talking about here on the channel was the Tweeterhead Superman paint bust, or Superman bust. And, I think we all agreed, we were talking earlier this week that, it's just one of those things that were like Tweeterhead really needed a win. They really needed something good to happen with this piece. There's been some negativity. And then, unfortunately, this Superman had paint issues. And of course, people get very upset. Dan, you received one.
I did.
Jeff, you received one.
Mm-hmm.
And both of yours had paint issues. So obviously that's a disappointing feeling. Dan, I know you were kind of worried about that going in. We talked about it this weekend. You get it on Monday. What's your thoughts?
I honestly had told Matt before I opened it, I'm really expecting it to have the issues, right? I mean, it's not a big run to begin with. You're talking a few hundred statues. And so I didn't see it. I didn't expect it to be something that was a whole bunch of batches, right? My guess was it could be as little as one batch, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't know. That could be wrong, but I'm just guessing.
Yep.
So when I saw people, I started seeing pictures of the tissue paper on the inside that they wrapped statues with, had paint that had come off the statue. I said, oh, they definitely packed them wet. That, in my professional opinion, that's what happened, right? They just simply packed them and they weren't cured or dried yet. Look, it was a manufacturing error. And actually, before I say that, the statue from 5 feet plus, where you would maybe normally view it, it's not like it's a mess. There are a handful of blemishes. There's enough where, I'd like a replacement. I'm paying full price. You want full quality, right? So, okay. But from 5 feet, 4 feet plus, it looks great. I have him set up here. He looks awesome. And I don't know. It's a manufacturing thing. It happens. It was a mistake. I think it might have been a little bit more inflamed, their response, because on top of this, you had some of the shipping issues that Tweeterhead's been working through for these past many months, right? So people are already, not thrilled with their ship times on certain pieces and those kinds of things. It's a completely separate issue, has nothing to do with this. But I think people already had a little bit of a chip on their shoulder for Tweeterhead. Some did anyways. And I don't think that helped anything. But honestly, no. I love it. I got an immediate response. I should say that. I sent an email to Tweeterhead through their website. Doesn't know that I'm part of Rogues Gallery. For those of you who think we get favoritism, didn't know that. And I had an email from Eric within, I think it was under an hour. I had an email. We're really apologetic. This is something we're addressing actively. We will absolutely be sending you a replacement. Thank you very much. That's all I need to hear,
Yep. Eric doesn't know us from he doesn't know us at all. I just know him as the sideshow, the guy that did the silhouettes. And so he doesn't know us either, but I just want to kind of show people like what people were, getting in, and everybody's was a little bit different, but clearly it was a paint rub situation. You could see it in the hair. You could see it, just different blemishes on the actual bust. Dan, was yours kind of similar to what you're seeing here in these photos?
Yes. Same areas on that arm, not quite as extensive. I had tiny little, paint that had come off on the hair. Yeah, kind of like that.
Like that, yeah.
So not quite that extensive.
Did yours have like the wet spots and all that?
On the tissue paper?
And now some of those statues that look like they're a little bit like wet, almost like
on the cape. I had a little bit of that, or have a little bit of that. The tissue paper had that. It's funny, I didn't have any yellow on the tissue paper. Mine was red, predominantly red with some blue and some black, which I assumed was from the base.
Maybe, yeah.
I guess it could have been the hair. I didn't look closely, but similar blemishes.
And Jeff, I'm assuming you experienced the same on the initial one you got.
So mine was not as bad. I had I describe it as kind of shiny spots. You know what Eric said was like wet spots.
Mm-hmm.
There's no loss of paint. It just looks like there's something going on with the clear coat or something like that. I sent a picture directly to Chad, and I wasn't asking for a replacement, but he immediately said, "Oh my God, I'll send you out another one right away." But I do want to say, you mentioned that the Tweeterhead needs a win. I would say Tweeterhead had 3 wins the last couple of weeks.
100%.
Elvira, Blue and Gray Batman, and Skeletor on Panther, which all came out fantastic.
Yep.
So, and that's the same factory that this one was at.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, he sent me a replacement. I'm completely happy with it, which you'll hear in my review. I did point out those shiny spots kind of on his chest. And it's kind of localized in one area. It's not, I had no problem with the hair, no problem on anywhere on his skin, on his neck, nothing. I'm totally fine. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, Tweeterhead has been sending out other characters, other properties in the same batch, and they've all turned out really well. And it's one of those things where like these things unfortunately happen. We were talking before the show about how, you know, I understand where people get disappointed and people are upset. And it would be one thing if Chad said, well, screw you guys, you're just going to have to deal with it. But instead, he is sending out replacements. And so I don't really know what the problem is. It happens with a broken statue all the time where we get broken statues and, you know, whether it's Sideshow or whoever else, they send us a replacement. And if the replacements still have problems, then I could see where, you know, there might be an issue. But again, Chad would probably like, okay, I'm going to send you another replacement, you know, until it's right. And that's at his expense.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely no excuse for it. It's something that should have been prevented, and it was somehow missed, but it does happen. Like, I think back to Sideshow. I was telling you guys the Spider-Man premium format, the one like it was kind of balanced on one hand on that crane. Same thing. You know, it was a good 20 to 30 of, you know, 30 collectors that had it arrive with paint rub all over the legs. Same thing on the blue. So it's been a while since something like that happened, but it does happen from time to time. So maybe it didn't get clear coated, or maybe it didn't dry in time. Don't know.
Well, the last two statues I've ordered for Sideshow have came broken. Guess what? Email them. Boom, get the response. I mean, what else you want? Hey, do you want to keep it or do you want to send it back? You know, I mean, I'm still buying from Sideshow. I mean, what else? I mean, whether it's like Chris says, it'd be one thing if Chad just says, well, you know what, it is what it is. But the fact that he's saying, hey, just send an email, we'll get it right out to you, no problem. I mean, what else more do you want? You know.
Mm-hmm. Jerry Bourne says Tweeterhead has not answered their email contact form from their website 5 days and counting. I don't know about Jerry. I've talked to about 6 or 7 collectors outside of Dan and Jeff that said they've already got a response. So you might just keep emailing them, Jerry. I don't know, but from what I've been hearing, they've been really responding really quickly.
Chad told me to use the eric@tweeterhead.com for this particular issue, and he'll take care of it. He also said if you contact him by the end of this month, you'll get a replacement. Okay,
so that's great.
The other thing, real quick, but because I'm thinking about like what other companies do, like Sideshow and Prime One, where they go, just email us once, because what happens is if you keep emailing constantly, like every few hours, like annoying them, then your email just keeps getting pushed back to the beginning of the line. It's because, you know, if they're going in order of the emails received, like who emailed them first, it kind of gets pushed back. So might be good to send one and wait a few days.
And again, they are a smaller company, so they have one guy. If they had a whole team of 20, it would be done a lot quicker. But he's just him. It's just him. It's just a one guy company. So I would imagine that, you know, having to pay Eric, that's what he could do right now. And so Eric is going to, like you said, go through each one. And again, if you haven't received a reply yet, just maybe be patient. You know, I know everybody wanted their perfect statue yesterday, but I understand that it's frustrating. And Jerry says I emailed once until today, so I just don't. Hopefully you'll hear soon. I'm guessing.
It's heavy, man.
Do what?
That bust is really heavy.
I told you. I'm like, once
super
people,
heavy.
Yeah, once people get it in, they're like, it's so big and it's so heavy.
Yeah.
It's I just think that they're awesome. And again, it sucks that there's paint issues, but again, I know that they're going to make it right. I talked to Chad. I think Jeff, I think you probably did too this week.
Yeah.
Had a nice conversation with him. He is incredibly frustrated. And he said this is the same factory he's used for 10 years, you know? And so the fact that this happened, it sucks. And it sounds like it happened after quality control. Which again was out of their control. You know, Chad didn't paint these things, which is, you know, just I know why that there is the hate. But again, they're going to make it right. It sounds like it was one batch, is about 10% of the whole run. And so it just sucks. But as long as he's making it right, I don't know what else people want.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it feels like I've had this conversation with 3 different companies recently, that there just seems to be a lot of anger in the hobby these days. I don't know how to remedy that, but people seem to want to break out the pitchforks and the torches at any moment. And sometimes it's best just to see if you can get a resolution before you castigate a company to the extent that we're seeing, not just Tweeterhead, but others as well.
Like Chris said, it's a bad timing, and they needed a win, and it's unfortunate that it happened.
Yep. And it is nice to see. I've seen a ton of photos of a perfect Superman, you know, and that's great to see too. I mean, again, it sucks for those that it affected. And like Jeff said, the hate continues to creep in. Unfortunately, I've been really proud of our groups that have been really positive for the most part. Like in our group this week, there was a post yesterday, a lot of comments about, you know, it's like because does it lessen my credibility because I support Tweeterhead? And I want to thank you guys for your comments in that chat. But
is this the coward that posted anonymously?
Yeah, it's like we know who it is because we're the moderators. So like we know.
Yeah. And if you're watching, you're a freaking coward.
Yeah,
I hate that. I got no room for that. Sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is. It sucks, but I mean, people have the right to voice their opinion. But it's like, what does that do? It's like, yes. I have long supported Tweeterhead because I like what they produce. I like Chad and I like his stuff. And I want him to be successful. And, you know, I think there's a lot of companies right now on the verge of shutting down.
Yeah.
And it's not only because of sales, but it's because of the negativity. And it's just the constant negativity. Well, and there's just so many people that are just so unhappy about everything. That's their one little bit of power that they have to say, oh, I'm mad about this thing on anonymously on social media.
Well, here's the thing, Chris. It's like, okay, people want to be negative, and you know, let's not just talk about Twitter, negative toward whatever statue or whatever. Now, how would you guys feel if that company or companies go out of business? Then you'd be bitching that there's not enough choice.
Yeah.
Well, there was tons of choice. Then you guys, you know, with all the negativity and all the BS, shut, let's just say 2 companies down, and now there's only, you know, 3 companies left or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So you're going to bitch regardless, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's just draining, you know?
Yeah.
And vengeance here, you're right. People have the right to be mad and feel like they want to feel. Absolutely. That is absolutely fine. But I think the problem is that, like, what good does the hate do?
Yeah.
You know, we've long said that this hobby is to kind of escape all of that. And when the drama and everything else creeps in, and again, in this issue, yes, it sucks about the paint. And again, I can understand people being really pissed if Chad didn't make it right. But again, he's going to make it right. He's going to send you a new one. And with that said, I think a lot of people that get pissed off about these things are people that resell. And Chad has said, so like, let's say that Dan, Okay, you got one that was affected. Okay, let's say that you got number 25. Okay, what Chad is doing, Chad told me on the phone yesterday, he's like, I cannot ask people to break them. It breaks my heart to see somebody with a hammer breaking the statue. So he said, go find a children's hospital, go find a local comic book shop that won't care if there's a blemish on it or whatever. Give it to a kid, give it to somebody, scratch out the number, put a marker through the number on the bottom. Let me know when you email Eric what the addition is, and we will send you another 25.
That's cool.
Because he's like, well, God knows if I just send out a 25, then people will be bitching that there's two 25s. Right?
Yep.
So he knows exactly what people are going to be mad about. So he's like, cross it out, marker it out, give it to somebody, give it to charity or whatever you want to do. If there's a scuff on the neck that might not bother a kid that's still going to love it, give it to him.
I'll take them. I'll fix them.
Right. I was gonna, yeah, Eric will take them all and repaint them. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty cool too, that he's like, just give it to somebody and we'll send you the exact same number.
Yep.
So, yeah. Superman says, send me all your damaged statue. I'll take them happily. Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Yeah, like Dan was saying, that it looks good from 5 feet away. So I'll just put it on the shelf.
I'm looking at it right next to you. It's great.
So let's Dan, you have one in hand. Jeff, you have one in hand. And Jeff, you have the replacement. Tell us, and I don't want to spoil your review. I want people to go watch it. What's the positives you have about the statue? Like, what do you like about it? What do you think people need to hear?
Guillermo Barbiero, he sculpts my Superman. He sculpts Superman the way I want him to look. And so I love it for that reason. It's just the classic, as I say in the video, square jawed, steely blue eyes, jet black hair, steely gaze. He does musculature really well. I love, and I mentioned this in the video too, there's been a couple of Superman statues put up for pre-order recently, namely the Prime one, Alex Ross, where the chest insignia looks like a plaque applied to the costume. It looks ridiculous. This one, it goes with the contours of his chest. It makes much more sense. It's clearly a part of the costume rather than something attached to it later. It looks way better. It looks the way it does in the comics and in the movies. It's awesome. And it's so cool that it's not just a traditional bust. It's so much more of his figure than that. I really like it. I'm very, very happy with it.
I'm glad to hear it. And again, I just feel like it's one of those things where once people get a good one, I think they're going to be like, whoa. I mean, just like that comment a minute ago, it's like, I wish now that I have the Superman, I wish that I had gotten the Batman. Mm-hmm. And that's what Chad has told me from all along. He's like, I know people, once they get him in hand, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to kick myself because I didn't get him. And what is the edition sizes on these? 300, 350, somewhere in there.
Yeah. 350 for six.
Yeah. And so there's not a ton of these out there. But I really think once people start getting them and be like, okay, these are really good. I don't know. I just think people will kick themselves. But again, going back to all of it, I know that I can understand the frustration. It is very frustrating. I mean, I'm still frustrated that I didn't get a good Batman versus Joker from Sideshow. And they're not making more of those. They're just giving refunds. So at least Chad's going to give you a statue, and that's a good thing. So it's nothing new. What's happened with this Tweeterhead piece? It sucks, but it is what it is. Dan, I'm sorry I cut you off. Like, what did you want to say? Anything else about like what you like about the statue?
Briefly, I mean, honestly, a lot of the same things that Jeff just said. I very much, this is my idea of Superman. There are a lot of different versions. This one lines up really nicely with my idea. I have mine displayed on my Hush table. So I've got Batman, Hush Batcave, and I've got the Joker Say Cheese set up with the Jim Lee portrait and bang gun and whatnot. So that's my Hush table. I have a beautiful signed Hush print right in the middle. And then I have Superman kind of fit in there, and he fits perfectly. That's another thing I wanted to mention. He scales amazingly well. I wasn't sure if he would fit next to those two very large statues, and he doesn't look out of place at all. He looks great. So I love the statue. I'm real happy with it.
That's one thing that I thought would be cool is to, like, you know, like, let's say it takes JC 6 more years to make a clay face, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's might want that 3rd scale clay face. Well, if you could have a 3rd scale clay face for whatever he's going to charge, 400 or 450 or whatever it's going to be for a larger piece.
Yeah.
But to have it kind of intermixed with other pieces, like, it's going to look great.
It's like I said, I was really worried, but it's a very tall, what is it, like 17 inches tall or something? But he's big, you know, and like Jeff said, he weighs a ton. I couldn't get over how heavy he was, and he looks substantial. He does not look out of place at all. He looks great.
Well, I think Billy said it before the show. He had watched Jeff's review, and he said he felt like he got a better kind of representation on how big it was because Jeff was standing.
Yeah.
And he could, you know, because I had him on my table and you can kind of back here and stuff, and you can, you know, but he really felt like Billy, do you want to speak on that?
Yeah, because I have the Hush Prime 1 piece, and the bust is cut off at an angle at the trunks.
Yep.
And from the trunks to the tip of the head on the Hush piece, it's roughly 14 inches. So if you add 3 inches of the base, there's your 16, 17-inch statue. And I think the pose with the arms like this will give him some width.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could definitely see him scaling well with Batcave Hush and Joker Say Cheese, you know, and he won't look small if you can prop him up some kind of how. But if we talk about a bust is traditionally what? A head, some shoulders, and some chest. This is a half a statue because it's getting cut off literally at below the waistline.
Right.
So I wouldn't call it a bust. It's half a statue, you know? And so
That's true.
I mean, because if you look at a bust, if we talk about the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, they don't have arms, right? And those were considered busts. So, you know, it's half a statue. It's got arms, it's got torso, you know. So I do think if you don't have the Prime 1 Hush, like you guys don't, it's going to fit in perfectly in that setup. If you want him off to the side and the back, it looked really good. And like I said, yeah, I definitely thought, because Chris was sitting with it, Jeff is standing, it's at his waist, it's right here. I was like, oh man, that thing was pretty big. So, yep.
And again, I hope that I just hope people are patient. I know it sucks, but I really do feel like once people start seeing these, again, like the Mr. Freeze is phenomenal. I just can't wait for people to start getting them. And I do feel for Chad, because I know it's a sucky situation.
Guys, in fairness, when it comes to people being negative, we've been collecting for a long time. All of us, stuff happens, you know, stuff comes broken, stuff comes with paint blemishes. You know, we all love the Joker Say Cheese, right? He doesn't key in properly. He's supposed to rest on Robin. I'm looking at it right now. His foot's still in the air. You know, it never settled. We just accepted it because the statue's so great, right?
Yep.
I think some of this, you gotta admit, it's coming because of the other stuff, the shipping delays, the no refund policy that set everybody on fire, you know. And now to have this, it's just one more thing. So I think if those things didn't happen, and listen, every statue company has shipping delays, but the other stuff, if, you know, the bad customer service, you know, where hopefully Eric's, you know, getting things moving, but before him, you had people waiting for how long to get a reply on an email. So those things, and now let's say you're one of the unlucky ones who got one with some paint issues, you're going to be frustrated, and I understand that. And I think even though the other properties came, you know, Elvira, the other Batman, those things came perfect. You know, if I ordered a Superman and I've been waiting months and months and months for this thing, that might even make me more upset that those things came perfect and my Superman came jacked up. So, I mean, every statue company has issues. I just think some of those other things, you know, probably if this happened, you know. But listen, I mean, anybody who has issues who's watching us right now, don't wait. Email him right away or whatever the process is and get your replacement.
Yep. And
I'm just thinking that you're right about that, because some people order statues and they don't open them; they just put them into storage.
I never understand that.
Open them. Check your statues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so check it out. Email Eric, I would say, quickly, like you said, and if you haven't heard back from him, maybe give him a day or two. And then if not, keep emailing him. But like you said, he's probably going through each one. I don't know how long it takes to process that, or we don't know that information. But
that's really cool. You don't have to destroy them. I think that's really
I agree.
awesome.
Yeah, because who else does that? I thought that was really cool. It's like go give it to give it to a kid that would appreciate it. I thought that was pretty neat. But anyway, it does suck. I wanted to cover it here. Anything else you guys want to say on the topic before we move on?
It sucks, but it happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bring on Batman.
That's right. I'm really excited about him. I can't wait. Can't wait to add. Of course, Superman's great, but I just don't know. I can't have a Superman. I have to have a Batman. So anyway,
I mean, on a positive, if it looks great. So let's say Superman wasn't your cup of tea, but you have the Batman on order, or maybe like for me down the road, the Riddler or that Clayface.
Yep.
I mean, you're seeing what the quality is. You got two known guys in the community right here who have it, who are telling you it's great, paint issues aside, and that's going to get fixed.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching today, and if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button right here on the screen and check out these two awesome videos. I think you're going to love them. And also please join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I would love to have you join in all the fun. Thank you guys so very much for watching. See you in the Batcave.